Welcome to Module 1. You'll set up the systems in this module to make everything else work. Together, we're going to establish clear routines and procedures that run themselves, align your year-long curriculum so you always know where you're headed, and organize the professional tools that keep you focused and efficient. By the end, your classroom will feel calm, consistent, and ready for learning. And you'll be walking out the door each day confident, prepared, and without a bag full of work to take home. In Chapter 1, Establish, we will plan simple and straightforward classroom routines and procedures. Even if your classroom is already set up at this point in the year, I encourage you to go through these steps with me. Take a little bit of time to reflect on where things are working well and where you might be able to make small adjustments. Based on these research-based strategies I'm going to share with you, you could make your classroom even more effective and efficient. The time estimate for the work in this chapter is 3 45-minute planning sessions prior to starting school. In the next lesson, we will create a plan for the year together, and that's where you will plug in 2 days to actually do the activities that we plan here. We will design classroom layout and flow, decide where each visual will go, write, refine procedures, expectations, and consequences, practice the respectful redirect until it's a habit, prepare posters and game materials, all in this session. As we work on these lesson activities and plans together, I recommend using a split screen on your computer so you can follow along more easily when you watch it the second time. To do this, click and hold the top of the window and drag it to the left side of your screen. Then, click the second window you'd like to use, and your computer will automatically place it on the right. Keep the video you're watching on one side and open the resource we're working on the other. We'll start with the Classroom Routines and Procedures Toolkit, so go ahead and pull that up, place it on the left side of your screen, and keep this video on the right side, or switch them if that feels more comfortable to you. I also suggest keeping a Google Doc open and available to you at all times so that you can easily access it to jot down ideas, take notes, or keep track of the rest of the things that you want to make sure that you get done. As I mentioned, we're going to start with the Classroom Routines and Procedures Toolkit, specifically the Design Your Classroom in 30 Minutes activity. This toolkit will help you clarify exactly what students need to do to be successful, and it will help you be consistent. Teacher Clarity has an effect size of 0.84, which places it well above the threshold of what significantly accelerates student achievement. When you clearly define routines, expectations, and roles, you give students a roadmap to success. Consistency is what turns routines into habits and classrooms into communities. When students know you'll follow through, whether it's a transition procedure or a consequence, they begin to trust the structure. This kind of consistency contributes to a positive classroom climate, which Hattie ranks even higher with an effect size of 0.93. In this kind of environment, students feel emotionally safe, academically supported, and willing to take risks. Go ahead and open the Classroom Routines and Procedures Toolkit. Designing Your Classroom in 30 Minutes is on the second page in that resource. Take a moment to think about how you want your students to feel when they walk into your classroom and what you want them to do quickly and independently each day. Think about the atmosphere you want to create, colors, layout, and details that match that feeling. If you're not sure, you can even ask ChatGPT for some ideas. For example, what colors help students feel calm and focused or energetic and motivated? You can also use different colors or zones in your room to support different types of learning if you want to, or just keep it simple with one color scheme throughout. Once you've defined that vision, we'll move on to arranging your space to support it. Pause the video and use your Google Doc to jot down your ideas. Next, let's think about how your room is arranged. Take a few minutes to make a quick sketch of the zones you'll need. If you teach older students, you may only need a few key areas: student desks, your teaching space, and the presentation area. If you want students to work in groups, cluster desks together. If you're focused on independent work, rows might make more sense, especially at the start of the year when you're setting expectations. I often recommend beginning in rows so you have everyone's full attention, then moving into groups once you know your students better. If you use flexible seating like carpets, standing desks, lamps, or cozy chairs, include those in your sketch as well. As you plan, make sure you can easily reach every student's desk. My personal rule is that I should never be more than about 3 seconds away from any student in the room. Also, think about how easily you and students will be able to move around the space. Go ahead and pause the video now to draw a quick layout that includes all the furniture and spaces you plan to use. It does not need to be to scale, and it does not need to be perfect. Now we'll think about your walls, what you want students to interact with. I'll give you a list of what's helpful to include, and some of these things will connect directly to later modules. But here's the key thing to remember. You don't need to decorate everything right away. At the start of the year, the goal is to create a space that feels clean, welcoming, and organized. A simple color scheme or a few thoughtful visuals go a long way. Leave plenty of open wall space for student work and for anchor charts and posters we'll create later in the course. Your classroom doesn't need to look done on day one. It just needs to feel calm, intentional, and ready to grow with your students. Here's a list of the most important spaces on your walls to plan for. The teacher reminder corner. These prompts are for you. The respectful redirect frame from chapter 1. If this one's new to you, you might want a small 8.5 by 11 on each wall in the classroom. Questions for high-level thought anchor chart from chapter 7 and the feedback anchor chart from chapter 7. Then you have student use posters. Choose a space for them, but they'll be posted as you introduce them and use them in class. The core procedure posters from chapter 1, expectations and consequences posters from chapter 1, and then the no prep formative assessment anchor chart, chapter 6, and reciprocal roles poster, chapter 7. In addition, you'll have a what to do when finished choice board from chapter 7 and a class discussion choice board from chapter 8. You'll want to find a specific place to post your learning intentions, which say something like, today I'm learning, so I can, and then your unit success criteria or checklist. Again, we'll go over all of this later as well. And student work to display for exemplars or model work. The last step is to make it personal and add a couple things that speak to who you are. These could be items, pictures, banners, silly or serious, whatever speaks to you. You may want to also consider adding some type of welcome sign or banner that shows you are inclusive of all types of children in your room. It's so important that all students feel safe and supported by you. Go ahead and pause here, take care of business, and then come back when you're ready. Next, we're going to have a little fun. I'll show you how to sneakily guide your students to come up with the expectations and consequences you wanted all along, while they think it was totally their idea. One last thing about your classroom, especially on day one. Pay attention to alignment and spacing on your walls. When things are straight and evenly placed around the room, it feels calm and intentional, and students will know you put time and care into creating a space that belongs to them. Now, let's talk about how to set up those clear expectations and consequences with your students in class. We are going to trick your students into creating the classroom expectations and consequences that you have already chosen. It gives students a sense of ownership, but still incorporates the guiding principles you need to run your class. First thing you need to do is prep a couple small things before you do this activity with your class. Choose 3 to 5 clear expectations that you want in place. Make them specific and observable, like use one voice at a time instead of be respectful. Some more examples. These can be found in the toolkit resource. Keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself. Use one voice at a time. Follow directions the first time. Be ready to learn. Bring materials. Stay on task. Take care of our space and each other. Decide on 3 to 5 consequences that fit your discipline plan. Again, here are some examples. A reminder, a seat change or removal from an activity, conference about behavior, parent-guardian contact, office referral are all options, and there may be some other ones specific to your school. Pause here and come back when you've finished your 2 lists. When you do this as a lesson in class, you're going to start with the T-chart. You're going to ask during learning time, what should the students be doing and what should the teacher be doing? List their ideas on each side and guide the conversation if you need to. For example, students might say, follow directions or ask for help politely. Teachers might say, giving directions or don't yell. Now that you have students thinking about what a good class looks like, we move right into giving students the illusion of choice. Say, now that we've talked about what teachers and students do, let's decide what kind of classroom we all want to be in. Give each student 4 Post-its and say, you are only going to put one idea on each Post-it. I'd like you to fill out at least 2. What do we all need to do to make our classroom be a comfortable, safe place where learning can happen? Use the sentence starter, in our class, we. After students have finished writing, have them read their Post-its one at a time and bring them to you. This is where you put on your acting hat and play a little dumb. You really have to sell that you love their ideas. And wow, how did they come up with these? You guide them toward your real list by grouping their ideas into categories that match your secret prepared expectations. In your head, you have 3 to 5 areas, one for each of your expectations. I use blank white sheets of paper for this. As they bring them up, you group them into those 3 areas, or 5. Outliers can be placed in a separate group. After all the Post-its have been shared, look at one group and say something like, you said things like not talking over each other, listening, and raising your hand. I wonder if those would all fit under something like one voice at a time. Write it by the group of Post-its. The next day, you can revisit by posting your version of the expectation poster with student buy-in. Sounds like we all agree these 4 things will help us be successful. Finally, discuss consequences. You might say something like, every choice has a consequence. Some good, some not so good. What happens when we only use one voice at a time in the classroom? Get their answers, and then ask them, what happens if we don't? And after they've shared what happens when you do and don't, then ask them what the teacher might do if you don't follow the expectations that we all set up. Guide their answers towards your pre-planned list and explain why we do it. For example, I heard someone mention that you might get a phone call home. That's absolutely right, but why do we call home? No, it's not to get you in trouble. It's to ask for ideas of what might help and also to ask for support in helping you make better choices. Then, the next day, as you post your expectations, you can post your consequences alongside with them. An important piece of the puzzle we can't overlook is the way we enforce our expectations and consequences. We need to be able to redirect without causing shame or harm. One simple way to do this is to use what I call the respectful redirect. This is the next resource referenced in Chapter 1. I suggest putting a small version of this prompting poster on each wall in your classroom until it becomes a habit for you. If this sentence frame doesn't sound comfortable to you, that's okay. Change it so it does. The most important thing is finding a way to calmly redirect without raising your voice or causing harm. Your goal should be to fix the behavior, not embarrass the student. The poster is for you, not for your students. So make sure you're placing it in locations that are easy for you to see. Here's how it works. When a student is off task or disruptive, you want to hold them accountable and correct the behavior without escalation. Most importantly, you want to keep your relationship with the student intact. You'll say, I'm worried you have your head down because you might miss something really important. I need you to pick up your head and listen. In some instances, you may also need to assign a consequence. This may sound like, I'm disappointed you're carrying on a conversation while I'm giving directions because you won't know what to do on the assignment. I need you not to talk over me and pay attention. This is your warning. If it happens again, you'll need to move your seat. Finally, to wrap up designing your classroom and climate, we'll work on clarifying and teaching procedures and routines. There are several posters you can use in the toolkit resource. They can be edited to fit your exact situation. Most importantly, I'm going to share with you how I've been introducing and practicing these. I've been taught the only way to do this correctly is to teach the procedures, role play, practice, and show the right and wrong way to do it. I've found if every teacher is doing this, the kids are bored out of their minds. And me too. That's why I started posting the procedures and then playing this or that instead. You'll find the this or that resource is actually a link to the game presentation. The directions are included in the slides, but I'll give you a run through really quickly. Start by explaining how to play. After you read two choices about a classroom situation, students will move to the side of the room that best matches the best answer. These can be edited to personalize them for your classroom or students. As you read each slide, you may want to add a little detail specific to your procedure or not. That's up to you. There are 8 different procedure slides. Next is the group brainstorm challenge. Each group is assigned a procedure. They determine what it looks and sounds like when we do this correctly. I would do one together as an example and then give them 90 seconds to do theirs. Have each group share out. Lastly is the lightning review. You call out a classroom routine, and each team that shouts out parts of the correct procedure gets a point. It will be loud and obnoxious, and hopefully they will all have fun. In the next chapter, we will plan out when you'll do these activities with your students. When you're finished, your students will know exactly how your class will run. You'll free your mental energy for instruction rather than constant corrections. You'll meet the criteria for your highest level of teacher evaluation because you'll be maximizing instructional time. And you'll create the kind of positive climate that makes your students thrive.